In 1565, Malta stood as a crucible of conflict, its limestone bastions shimmering under the Mediterranean sun. The island, the stronghold of the Knights Hospitaller, was besieged by the might of the Ottoman Empire. While cannons thundered and swords clashed, a lesser-known darkness took root within the fortified city of Medina, far from the watchful eyes of history. Jeremiah, a young knight, had been dispatched to Medina to recover from injuries sustained in an early skirmish. The ancient city was quiet, spared from the direct onslaught, but not from the fear that seeped into its every stone. Jeremiah limped through the narrow streets, the pain in his leg a constant reminder of the horror he had witnessed at the front. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the city in a blood-red light, Jeremiah heard whispers of a sinister presence within the city walls. The locals spoke of a specter, an apparition draped in the vestments of a long-dead bishop, seen wandering the dimly lit alleys at dusk. Curiosity, mixed with the restless energy of a soldier, drove Jeremiah to investigate. He wandered the alleys, guided by the flickering lights of the oil lamps that hung outside each home. The air was thick with the scent of fear and the underlying stench of decay, a reminder of the unburied dead, victims of the plague that had accompanied the Turks. As Jeremiah turned a corner, he saw it, a figure, tall and shrouded in a tattered bishop's robe, its face obscured by the hood. The specter stopped, its head tilting slightly, as if sensing Jeremiah's presence. In a voice that was a whisper of leaves against stone, it spoke, "Seek not what lies beneath, lest you become part of it." Chilled, Jeremiah stepped back, his hand instinctively reaching for the sword he no longer carried. The figure vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving a cold spot in the air and a deep sense of foreboding in Jeremiah's heart. The next day, unable to quench his growing obsession, Jeremiah sought out Father Matteo, an old priest who seemed to know much more than he preached. The priest listened intently, his eyes reflecting a flicker of fear as Jeremiah recounted his encounter. "Ah, you have seen the Bishop of Shadows," Father Matteo murmured, his voice dropping to a hushed tone. "He was once a protector of this island, a man of faith who succumbed to a darker calling. It is said that during a great siege, much like this, he delved into forbidden rites, seeking the power to vanquish his enemies. Instead, he unleashed something unholy." Father Matteo insisted on showing Jeremiah something hidden beneath the chapel, a crypt sealed for centuries. With a heavy key, the priest unlocked the ancient door, revealing a staircase spiraling down into darkness. They descended, the air growing colder with each step. At the bottom, in a chamber lit by torches that cast dancing shadows on the walls, lay an altar and, behind it, a wall filled with niches. Each niche held an urn, marked with a strange symbol that Jeremiah did not recognize. "These are the remains of those who followed him into darkness," Father Matteo explained, his voice a mere whisper. "Bound to his fate, they are neither alive nor at peace." Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the chamber, extinguishing the torches. In the darkness, Jeremiah felt a presence, overwhelming and full of malice. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the ground seemed to tremble underfoot. "Quickly, we must leave," Father Matteo urged, his voice tinged with panic. As they ascended the stairs, Jeremiah looked back to see the faint outline of the bishop's specter at the bottom, its arms outstretched as if in supplication or a curse. They emerged into the chapel, breathing heavily, the door to the crypt closing with a resonant thud. Father Matteo was pale, his hands trembling. "That which has been awakened must be appeased, or none shall survive this siege, neither by sword nor by shadow," he declared, his eyes haunted. That night, Jeremiah could not sleep. The bishop's words echoed in his mind, a warning or perhaps a premonition. He knew that he could not leave this mystery entangled in the shadows of superstition and fear. As dawn broke, Jeremiah returned alone to the crypt. He descended the cold steps, a makeshift torch in his hand. At the bottom, he approached the altar, beyond which the specter had appeared. Determined to face the apparition and put an end to this haunting, he called out to the bishop, demanding release from this terror. The air stirred, and the specter materialized, more defined than before. Its eyes, visible beneath the shadow of its hood, burned with a fire that was not entirely malevolent. "You seek to confront that which you do not understand," it intoned. "But know this, the power I sought was for the protection of this island. And it is a power that comes with a price." Jeremiah stood firm. "What is the price?" he asked, his voice echoing in the crypt. "Sacrifice," the bishop replied. "Sacrifice to seal the shadows once more." Understanding dawned on Jeremiah. The siege, the specter, the rituals were all intertwined. Stepping forward, he offered himself as the sacrifice to protect Malta, to keep the darkness at bay. As the bishop approached, Jeremiah felt a sharp pain, then nothing at all. His last sight was of the bishop's robe fading into the darkness, a guardian once more. Above, the cannons continued to roar, but in the crypt below Medina, silence reigned. Jeremiah's sacrifice, unknown to any but the specter and the old priest, would remain a secret buried in the shadows, Malta's unseen protector against the darkness, both without and within. Ready yourself, we have another story to delve into. This story is called The Abyss Watcher. In the year 732, the village of Ealdwine lay shrouded in unease, not just from the impending war, but from a darkness that seeped from the edges of the ancient moorwood forest. As a lay, a widow, I was intimately familiar with the forest's foreboding whispers, having lost my husband, Bertrand, to its shadowy depths exactly 1 year prior. His body had been discovered untouched but contorted in terror, a silent testament to unspeakable horrors. One fateful evening, as shadows lengthened and the wind carried the scent of impending rain, a chilling knock echoed at my door. Hesitantly, I opened it to find a grotesque idol, its form neither human nor beast, carved from dark stone and exuding a malevolent presence. Beside it lay a scrap of parchment with a single word scrawled in a trembling hand: "Delve." Drawn by a mix of dread and an inexplicable pull, I took the idol into the dim light of my hearth, examining its unsettling form. That night, sleep eluded me. Visions of Bertrand, his eyes wide with terror, haunted the dark corners of my room. As dawn broke, casting a pale light over Ealdwine, I felt a force beyond my understanding urge me towards the forest. With the idol clutched tightly, I ventured into Moorwood, each step deeper into its heart, amplifying the sense of impending doom. The forest was eerily silent, save for the occasional whisper that seemed to emanate from the trees themselves, speaking a language not meant for human ears. Hours passed, or perhaps it was moments. It was impossible to tell, as time seemed distorted here. Eventually, I came upon a clearing I had never seen, despite my years living at the forest's edge. In its center lay a gaping chasm, surrounded by ancient stones covered in undecipherable runes. The ground around the abyss hummed with a power that vibrated through the soles of my feet and into my very soul. The idol in my hand pulsed with a cold energy, guiding me to the edge of the abyss. As I peered into its endless depths, the whispers grew louder, coalescing into a voice that filled not the air but my mind. It spoke of timeless captivity and the veil between worlds, thinning with each guardian's passing. I realized then the truth of Bertrand's fate and the lineage I had unknowingly entered. Guardians meant to contain this eldritch being, whose very existence threatened to unravel the fabric of our reality. Compelled by the idol, I knelt at the edge, the voice promising an end to my solitude, an escape from the grief that had shackled me since Bertrand's death. In a trance, I sliced my palm, letting my blood drip into the chasm as an offering to seal the pact anew. But the creature had other desires. As my blood touched the void, the ground shook violently. The chasm widened, and from its depths surged a form too terrible to comprehend. Its features a maelstrom of chaos and darkness. The air around it warped, reality bending and twisting in its presence. It spoke again, this time a sound that fractured the mind. "Freedom," it declared, not in gratitude but as a herald of doom. The power I had unleashed was not to be contained by blood or stone. The last thing I saw before the darkness enveloped me was the forest, bending as if bowing to its ancient master freed from bonds. My life, my soul, was the true price for my curiosity and desperation. As I succumbed to the void, my last thought was a whisper of apology to Eeldwine, to the world, for the horror I had unwittingly unleashed. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And stay safe out there, friend.